Hi, my name's Trent. I work in software sales. I received a message on LinkedIn from a college student recently. They asked me, hey Trent, I'm a cybersecurity major. I'm interested in working in tech sales. I love your videos, by the way. What would you do if you were in my position, and what resources would you suggest to help accelerate my journey? This is a really important question because so many of you out there are looking to get hired into your first tech job, or you're looking to transition into the tech industry from a separate industry. On top of all this, these tech companies are doing layoffs, most notably DocuSign and Twilio laying off 10% of their workforce. These tech companies are doing hiring freezes right now. Tough economic environment ahead. What can you do to get hired today? I want to share with you my story, how I got hired with no internship, no experience, no connections, and the 3-step formula that anybody can use today to increase your odds of getting hired. In 2018, I was at Ohio University. I had average grades. I was in a few student organizations. I didn't have internships because I babysat during the summers. I mowed lawn during the summers, and I actually stayed at my professor's house watching their dogs for a summer. So I did odd jobs, and I wasn't necessarily a standout candidate academically, socially, or really anything on paper. So what did I do? I said, what is the low-hanging fruit at my disposal? You have low-hanging fruit in your life today. You just gotta get creative with what resources do you have or who do you have access to. I happen to have a career center at my university. So I walked into the career center, and step one, I said, can you help me update my resume? I don't know what this should look like. I don't know what to put on it. Can you help me? So I went to the office hours, and I had people who knew what they were talking about tell me what to do. So I felt more confident than going back to the career center and saying, hey, so do we have job fairs or how do I get hired? And they said, yeah, we actually do have a job fair for 30 sales companies that are coming here. You just gotta show up, hand them your resume, and if they like what they see, they'll give you an initial interview and they wanna hire you. And I said, wow, that sounds great. I show up at the career fair and I looked at all the companies and I said, who is gonna give me a tech sales job in a big city anywhere other than Ohio? So I went up to about 6 booths. I introduced myself. I gave my resume and I said, can I get a slot on your interview sheet tomorrow? What is your availability? Let's talk. So I got creative. I didn't follow the traditional norms of just giving them my resume and saying, I hope you call me back. I said, you know what? I'd like to work for your company because I did my research here. When can we talk? So I started doing this. I started doing interviews. I did dozens of interviews. And I want to put this in perspective for you guys. I got rejected dozens of times. And I got another message on LinkedIn recently from someone saying, Trent, my dream is to work in tech sales. I'm 0 for 3 on my most recent interviews. I didn't get offers, but I have 4 more interviews coming up this week for account executive positions. I'll let you know how they go. That's the exact approach. That's what I did. That's what everyone has to do who, even if you have good credentials, it's competitive. You have to do a lot of interviews first and foremost. You have to apply. It's massive volume. It's not just apply once, get rejected, oh, all of a sudden I'm never gonna get hired. So for those of you out there wondering, when are you gonna get your break? It will come. You just have to keep going, keep applying. So I kept applying, kept interviewing. I even flew out to Boston to interview with the top tech company. They didn't even give me an offer. Imagine how disappointing that was at the time to get absolutely rejected. When they told me, they said, this is the golden ticket. You just got to get this offer. I couldn't get the offer. I eventually accepted at a tech company. I've been there for over 4 years, and I'm grateful that I really took a lot of time in the process. It took me months to get hired. So what would I do today? 2022, if I were on the open job market, what would I do? So what I would do is I have a personal brand, so I would be able to reach out to these top people directly via LinkedIn message, and that's an asset I have because I've built over time. So if you do not have any sort of personal brand, you are not as differentiated as candidates who do have a personal brand. So think about what that means to you and how can you fix it. Step number 1, identify what companies do you want to work for. You go to companiesmarketcap.com. and you filter by software tech companies. You can see a list of the 300 most valuable tech software companies in the world or in specific regions like the Americas, and just go down and find the top 10 list. You have Google, you have Amazon AWS, you have SAP, IBM. okay, all of a sudden you know what the best companies are, who make the most money, who are gonna be able to pay you the most money. And none of these are startups. These are more established companies who are gonna offer you training, who are hiring despite tough economic circumstances. Go to this list and then look at these companies, okay? And then pick a handful of companies you wanna work for. Remember, volume, you're gonna have to apply to multiple of them. Step number 2 is either decide, are you gonna be able to go in the front door, or you're gonna have to go in the back door to these companies. The front door during the application process is simply to go on the company website, go on the jobs, career, available positions tab, they all have this, and go to the public job posting board and see exactly what positions that they are offering, where, and what it is, and start applying. I have a good buddy I work with, and he started at our company a couple months ago, and I said, hey, so how did you get hired? He said, yeah, man, I wasn't happy at my current employer. I decided that Qualtrics was a place I wanted to work at because I've seen some of your videos. So I went on LinkedIn, I looked at the open available jobs, and I started applying to SDR jobs. A hiring manager called me, we did an initial phone screening, and then I went through the interview steps with the hiring manager, with the sales manager, and eventually they extended me an offer. That is how you go through the front door. All the positions are listed publicly, and they want people to apply because they don't have to pay to actually go and find you. So if you're a quality candidate, that is perfect for them. You are making their life easier. I get dozens of messages from people saying, Trent, what positions are open, or how do I apply? That tells me you are not proactive because you have not looked at the open positions. You have not gotten scrappy and said, what information can I find? And if I absolutely cannot find it, then I should go ask. So that is the front door. Simply go apply. You gotta make sure your resume at least looks okay. Submit it, and then you'll get called by a hiring manager. If you don't have an average LinkedIn or an average resume, you're gonna be in trouble. So if you're sitting there thinking, well, Trent, I have no experience, what do I do? I also had no experience. So you gotta get creative on the resume. And even if you were a babysitter, maybe you talk about you were this personal assistant to this rich family, whatever it may be. I'm not saying lie, but you got to be creative with how you frame these experiences. Don't just say, I worked at Hollister and sold t-shirts. Say, I increased the customer and guest experience through selling hundreds of thousands of dollars of t-shirts, whatever it may be. Get creative with how you position and package yourself. That is the front door. The back door is also possible to get into these companies. Let's say you try the front door, you get rejected, but you really want to work for this company. What do? These companies are doing layoffs. They're doing hiring freezes, but they're still hiring because they need people in revenue producing roles. These recruiters at these companies, they're in trouble because they're not in a direct revenue producing role. They're just costing the company money. If the company has a hiring freeze, then they're basically irrelevant at this point, okay? So these recruiters are working extra hard because they know if their company does layoffs, they're the first to go. So how can you make their life easier? Okay, reach out to them and be a standout candidate. Go out of your way to maybe research them, look up their Instagram, Facebook, figure out something about these hiring managers along with the company insight, and then just start reaching out to them to say, can you help me get hired? Here is my resume. Here is the position I want. I saw it on the public job posting board. Let me help you. You're incentivized by hiring people. I want to get a job, so let me help you. That's what we're going to do. So that's one example of going through the back door. Another example of going through the back door is identifying who are these top sales managers at these companies. You don't necessarily need to assume you would work on their team, but figure out who are these sales managers or even individual contributors that have a voice within these companies. People such as myself that have a following, that people are watching. If I were you and you wanted to get my attention, I would connect with me on LinkedIn. I wouldn't send a message. I wouldn't just say, can you help me get a job? Do you have 15 minutes of availability? These people don't. Connect with them. Start engaging with their post. You don't even need to have a LinkedIn presence to engage with their posts. Comment on every post, like every post, engage for 2 weeks to a month. Somewhere in that time period, you will have already connected with them. Send them a personalized, a hyper-personalized message, such as if they're a first connection, you can send a voice message. If someone engages with my post, if I recognize their name and they send me a voice message, I'm so much more likely to go out of my way to help them than some random person that their very first message they're already making an ask, because they have not given any sort of value in exchange. It's all about reciprocation. So if you identify these hitters within these organizations and you wanna maybe use them to get in, start engaging with their stuff. You don't even need to be posting, just start reposting their stuff, engaging with everything, and then eventually make your ask. And I really do feel confident that they can either guide you to the right place, they can refer you, or maybe they can take 15 minutes to review your resume and then finally help you with step number 3, which is crush your interview. You've decided what companies you want to work for. You've begun applying. Applying needs to be step number 1 in all of your process. A lot of people are overthinking what to do. Start applying. So you've been applying, you've gone through front doors, back doors. Now finally you're starting to get interviews, and now you need to crush the interview. Ask yourself, why would they hire me? So if they're hiring you for a sales job, they're paying you so that you can then go generate more money for the company. So when you think about how do I stand out, I'm gonna talk about how I'm gonna help this company make more money than any other candidate. So whether it be as a result of this experience in the past, it's gonna help me drive XYZ, or hey, this is my plan to go make it happen. A lot of people think they need all this experience, but they don't. Imagine your favorite actors in Hollywood. Were they experts or A-list movie star actors when they initially got their shot? No, they had to compete on competence. Eventually they got their first opportunity. They spoke with some of the producers and they competed on competence. You don't need to be an expert. You don't need to have an impressive background to really stand out. You just need to get your foot in the door, however creative you gotta be. And then when you're in these interview processes, you really need to stand out. Ask yourself in the mirror, look at yourself dead in the eyes, deep into the soul and say, would I hire me? Yes, no. If it's not a absolute conviction with yes, then you got to go work on it, whether it be a confidence belief system thing or just saying, you know what, I am going to be more competent than anyone else. I'm going to know more about this company. I'm going to know more about this hiring manager. I'm going to be more personal. I'm going to have the best attitude than anybody else. And then I'm going to say, you know what, I really want this position. I'm going to do whatever it takes. What are the next steps in the process? And then continue to go through it. I've made a video talking about how to prepare for a sales interview. That's what I would do if I were in your position looking to get hired in tech. This spans across sales, engineering, any role. Identify the companies you want to work for, start applying to them, front door and back door, and then finally, prepare yourself to crush the interview. If you got value in today's video, subscribe now. I'll talk to you in the next video. Bye.